And without much delay, we would like to go to the main presentation. Before I call upon Shabir Saab, let me just give you a brief about Shabir Saab. Shabir Saab has been an accomplished banker with 50 years of insightful experience in the field of personal banking, investment banking, private banking, and wealth management. Participated in the dematerialization of shares. His company Sensage is the first and only Sharia compliant registered investment advisor with SEBI. Shabir Saab is an activist for interest free banking and an advisor for Islamic wealth building in India. And he has succeeded in persuading the launch of India's first Sharia compliant mutual fund, namely Taurus Ethical Fund and the Goldman Sachs Sharia Nifty ETF, now which is called Nippon India ETF Sharia. So Shabir is recognized and honored as India's most admired financial advisor by White Page India for his valuable contribution to the capital market industry. He believes strongly in helping shift how people think of money. According to him, money is not a commodity by itself, but a means of exchange. So that's Shabir Saab. We are really honored to have you amongst us, Shabir Saab, and would like to call you for your presentation.
It's indeed a great pleasure for me to have been invited by my own colleagues in this industry. Both Anis and Yunus have been known to me for many years. They are one of those very few who have taken courage to come out of the banking industry and then for the Ummah trying to work for finding Sharia solutions for the Ummah. So before I go to the main presentation, I would like to start with trying to understand what is wealth. What is wealth? Not long ago, just 1400 years ago, wealth meant gold, camels, women, ornaments. Then came an era where it was gold, lands, children, and weapons. Then came a transformation where it was gold, property, wives, and male child. This was followed by again gold, property, education. For today's millennials, in today's era, what wealth means to is all those people who are youngsters who are born in the millennial age, they have got the property, gold, education on the platter from the parents. And what wealth to them is lifestyle, holiday, vehicles, electronic gadgets, and cryptos. This is what wealth means to them. So let's look at it from the Sharia point of view. What does Quran say about wealth? Every Muslim will be asked by Allah on the day of judgment about their way of living, including wealth accumulation and distribution. There's Sahih Hadith, which was narrated by Tirmidhi, which says, the son of Adam will not pass away from Allah until he is asked 5 questions, 5 things. What are they? How he lived his life, how he utilized his youth, what means he earned his wealth, how he spent his wealth, and what he did with his knowledge. There are 5 essential things that are there in our life. One is a progeny, the other is property, third is intellect, and so on. We will discuss here more about property and intellect. Intellect and property and what it means. We also, if you look at some figures in the industry, especially having Barakah being from the financial industry dealing with mutual funds, Let me give you some statistics about mutual funds and the participation of our community. The total mutual fund industry is about 38 lakh crores. Please think about it, 38 lakh crores. Out of this, 14 lakh crores is equity. The rest is debt, which you are not interested. 14 lakh crores. Now, out of these 14 lakh crores, let's look at the other side. How many Muslims are there? The number of Muslims are 20 million, 20 crores or 200 million. I don't know how authentic this figure is, but they say that Muslims who are contributing to the tax are 6 lakh. Now let's look into the AUM of the Sharia compliant funds which are there. It is only 1200 crores. Tata Mutual Fund, being the first one which was launched, was 26 years ago. In 26 years, we have contributed only 1,200 crores. This 1,200 crores is not just of Muslims. It is of Jains also, because they have got a similar belief. The total number of investors in these schemes are only 35 to 40,000. Compare this with the population and where we stand and where we participate, how we participate. Next, I just want to get into having seen this. On the other hand, I'll give you one more statistics. The Ponzi schemes. I'm sure many of you will understand what a Ponzi scheme is by now, but there are many Ponzi schemes, and the total number of Ponzi schemes today are said to be about 200. The amount of investment which has been made into Ponzi schemes is about 4 lakh crores. 4 lakh crores. I don't want to name the schemes, but most of them have been originated from the south, including our city and the neighboring state. Unofficial figures say that the investment in this Ponzi scheme from our community with a female gender is something about 25,000 crores. Compare this with 1,200 crores which have been invested into the regulated market. I want to talk more on that and stress on that rather than, and then probably get into the Sharia investment opportunities. If you look at, there are 4 regulators in India. This is very important to understand that there are 4 regulators in India. One is Reserve Bank of India, 2 is IRDA, 3 is SEBI, and 4th is RERA. RBI controls the banks. IRDA controls the insurance companies. SEBI controls the capital market. RERA controls the real estate. Out of these 4, if we leave the RERA, banking and insurance have got no Sharia compliant products. We need to change the act itself to get into those products. Capital market is the only place where a Sharia compliant or equity investments can be done. If SEBI, the capital market is the main place where we need to work, and the opportunities are there in capital market. What we need to understand whenever we make an investment is to check out whether this product or this company is regulated by any of these. We go into Ponzi schemes and spend money there, and the only reason why we go there are 2. 1, financial literacy is very poor. 2, greed. It is because of the money which is there. The objections when we talk about Sharia compliance, which has been in the country for quite a long time, some of the objections are, how can a product be Sharia compliant when there's a debt component in it? This is the first objection. Some people go to the extent of saying, पेशाब का एक खतरा भी पानी में पड़ जाए तो नजिस हो जाता है, नापाक हो जाता है. फिर ये शरिया स्कॉलर्स कैसे कहते हैं कि शरिया कंप्लायंट डेट अलाउ कर रहे हैं? दिस इज वन. Second, that people say is that it's the same old wine in the new bottle. Some people say that जूस की कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट नहीं करना चाहिए, नेस्ले जैसे हैं, यहूदी की कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट नहीं करना चाहिए. The answer to that is, first we need to understand where does Sharia come from? What do we mean by Sharia? What is the process of Sharia? It reminds me of an incident where Sahabi, they asked Huzur Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Huzur, आप जब नहीं रहेंगे हमारे बीच में और हमें कोई मसला आए तो हम किससे पूछेंगे? हुजूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम रिप्लाई वाज, मेरे बाद मेरे सहाबी हैं, उसके अंदर ताबईन हैं, उसका अंदर तबे ताबईन हैं. The scholars of today, the ulamas of today are direct waris of Huzur Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the intellectual knowledge. This we need to accept first. Second, the source for this is Quran and Hadith. That is the first source. Then the second source is consensus and analogy, which is Qiyas and Ijma. Now, if we accept this, we can understand. Let me give you an answer, some of the examples. Suppose there is 80% gold, 20% copper, and it's mixed together. What do you call it? When we are doing a wudu, when there is a pond, there's a water, and there's a dropping of a pigeon or a bird, what happens? Does it become like this? These things we do not accept. It is only the scholar who can give you an explanation of these things, and then we need to follow the scholars. Why I'm trying to say is, these are the basic objections which are there, and people, our own people, don't understand and try to condemn it. We need to... even in the case of Mamilat, when you talk about it, there are four things. Mamilat, that is regalement, is allowed by non-believers, which means Khatar Madari is allowed. Two is that transactions of Mamilat is perfectly allowed in Islam, in Sharia. Solacing or Muwasat is also allowed. Solacing is when somebody dies, you can go and then give them the condolences. What is not allowed is love, life, marriage, sharing the secret, inheritance is not allowed in Islam. These basic concepts, once you clear it, then you start accepting the Sharia scholars and the Sharia products. Sharia compliance, when you see it, people say Sharia compliant product invest kar diya main Tata mein. Sharia compliance is not halal, a statement which you may not like or you may disagree. But Sharia compliance has got a part of it of purging, that is the removal of interest, which in my experience, 90% of the people who are into Sharia compliant investment do not do purging. This is a negligence which we need to think about it. Without much words, I can talk about a lot, but there is one word which I want to emphasize here. Is ulul albab. In Quran, there is one word called ulul albab, which means that for those who are intelligent, who ponder on my signs, they are the ones who are intellect and will get the good guidance. So do we look into Quran and Hadith and then see what these are? How many of us have thought about it? We all want to get into the stock market, but how many of us have thought about it? Is there any, we ask the tips to the broker? Have you got the tips in the Quran? There are tips in the Quran. There's a complete surah on iron, hadith. There are so many industries which are mentioned in the Quran. I'll just name a few. Textile is one, shipbuilding is one, construction is one, steel is there, chemicals is there. My own personal experience, where I have spent months and years trying to find out what a good product is or what a good sector is, and I found that chemicals have been a good sector. And it is after that I have seen that it is mentioned in the Quran. Now, these are some signs. It doesn't say that you invest in chemicals and you will make double the money. But if it is an observant Muslim, these are the kind of signs that you look for. There are many others. Is it planning is there? Let me just get into it. I think I may run out of time, so let me just get into the presentation. Now, this is at the tip of the iceberg. If you look at the various kind of angles, financial planning means a lot of things. It starts from childhood. It starts from your background, where you have come, what has gone into your mind, and at an early age. There are many questions. At what age do you start talking about children? I would say when they are in the mother's lap, not when they become mature, when they start earning. There are so many areas to it. It starts with your philosophy as you are a child, your personal values, the background with which you have come, your past experience, goal-based planning, life changes. There are many changes. I'll just give you another one instance of a lady who had about 5 children. 5. She's 37. She's got, her husband passed away. She has no one to look for where she can go. She has absolutely no idea what is the net worth of the family. She has absolutely no idea how much money they have, how much, where it is invested. It is the brother-in-law who was managing it with about 4 crores in the property and no cash. Now, this lady has come back to her parents, and think about that kind of a situation, the changes in the lifestyle. What is going through her? We keep all the money in the property, real estate, because it is a physical asset that we can see. That is our drawback. We don't participate. Today, financial planning is totally different. The other communities are talking about life planning, which we have not even heard. Life planning is something which is ultimate. Life planning is again coming something from the Quran, where you need to balance your life. We need to balance your wealth. We need to balance your health. We need to balance knowledge. That's what life planning is being talked about. The financial planning is only on the pledge side. These are some of the areas. You are fortunate that there between us, Kabir, who has just been here, is a certified financial planner. In India, last 5 years before, there's a requirement of 50,000 financial planners. Today, there are only 2,100 financial planners. Out of that, only 34 are Muslims, and they are not able to practice because we've not gone to that stage. We only talk about kitna paisa hai, kitna dega. How much will I get the return? So financial planning is a very important kind of a thing which we are far away from the other communities, and we need to get into it. If you talk about returns for various asset classes, there are 4 main asset classes that I put here. One is a fixed deposit. So fixed deposit normally gives you inflation plus or minus return, which means if the inflation is 6%, it will give you 5.75, 6.25, 6.10, and that's what it is. If you invest in gold, it always gives 1.5% above the inflation. Property gives inflation plus 3. I know many of you will not agree with it, you will dispute with it. But please hold on a few minutes. I will explain to you with examples. It is only the stock market, whether it's a mutual fund or direct investment, where you take a risk, it gives you inflation plus 7%. There's another clear understanding we need to have about loan capital and risk capital. What is loan capital? What is risk capital? All the items that are there on the left side, that is fixed deposit, post office, senior citizen plan, national savings certificate, debt funds, bonds, all these are debt instruments or loan capital. Risk capital is stocks, mutual fund, property, gold, silver. Now the difference between the two is that you are giving the money to somebody else, and then somebody else is giving the money for investment for the equity capital. So there are layers of interest there. That is why the cost goes up. The inflation goes go up. It is said that 96% of the inflation is because of interest. So once you understand, we go to the bank deposit thinking that it is safe. But in today's world, even the banks are not safe. We have all come to realize that. So if you go directly into the equity, then You are still taking a risk, but the returns are higher. If the company is making a higher return, it is going to the layers, like the person who's been mobilizing the deposits, whether it's a bank, NBFC, or whatever it is. If you go directly to the company, then and make an equity and take the risk, your profits are higher. In simple words, I can explain to you like this. If you have to buy vegetable, if you buy it from your neighborhood, or if you're going to ride to bazaar, where will you get it cheaper? Right to bazaar. Once you accept that kind of a thing, then the risk-taking capacity increases. Coming to housing, this is our favorite for all of us. Let me start with, while most of you may not understand, but when we invest in the capital market, I have hardly seen a single person, if I ask him, what is the return that you've got on your property investment? Do you know how we express? 10 लाख में खरीदा था, 40 लाख हो गया. 25 लाख में खरीदा था, 1 करोड़ हो गया. We do not understand. We don't calculate. We don't know what is IRR. We don't know what is CAGR. So if you look at it, apart from these kind of risks which are there, the cash risk is also there. What is cash risk? You are converting your white money into black money and then investing. I am just giving you 2 examples of a property which was purchased about 16 years back. Apparently, it looks very good, attractive. But now look at it. I'll just give you an example. 18 lakhs you bought the property, you sold it for 60 lakhs. What is the rate of return? 7.82. 1. The tax on that is 20% for the gain. While buying for 18 lakhs, you have done a registration for 5 lakhs, not for 18 lakhs. So which means 13 lakhs of white money you have converted into black. Number 1. Number 2, when you are selling it for 60 lakhs, you again register for 12 lakhs at the maximum, 15 lakhs. So that means you generated cash. What can you do with this cash? There are only 2 things that you can do. Buy another property, or you can spend in the function hall. There's no other way that you can spend it. You will become a owner of a village, you'll become an owner of a district, you'll become an owner of a locality, but you don't have money for your retirement. It also becomes difficult for at the time of inheritance. This is what is financial planning. Nobody thinks about it. Yesterday, I had a client who came to me when he was 57. Yesterday, when he came to me, he was 62. He has 6 daughters. Alhamdulillah, he has got property worth about 4 crores. Out of that 1 crore, he's invested in with a builder. And 1 crore is giving his return. The property is giving him 60,000 rent per month. Very happy, he can survive. I asked him 2 questions. What does Quran say or Sunnah say about the Ummah's hayat? He knew about it. He said, Huzur Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that Meri Ummah ki umar 60 और 70 के बीच में है. You are 62, nearing it. Have you thought about it? I will give you 2 minutes to think, or 5 minutes for you to think that tomorrow you are not there. Think about your 5 crores net worth. Think about who is going to manage that. Your 2 existing 4 sons-in-law, your wife. Can she handle it? She cannot handle a plumber who is coming. What happens to that? I said, your 2 brothers may also have a share in it. Not aware of it. One of the best things that you need to do is that we need to create an awareness of who is the heir. We don't even know that. Forget the shares. We don't even know the heirs are there. Zar, Zevar, Zameen. Think about it. When we talk about it, we talk only about money. Kitna paisa dega? Kahan par dega? Meko bas hoga kya? Isn't this a part of financial planning? This is where we need to concentrate on. Our community is completely behind it. I'm telling you, in my service, in my practice, I haven't come across any customer who has come with his partner. Even if we insist on it, they twist their tongues in their mouth, saying, मेरी बीवी को बुलाने के लिए तुम क्यों पूछ रहे? But think of the situation, how the cycles change. Go back to the first slide that I've talked about. Changing life cycles. We are all responsible for it. What does Quran teach about? Is there any mention about planning in Quran? Yes, there is. The story of Yusuf al-Islam. Think about it. We think only about, when we talk about Yusuf al-Islam story, we think only about his seduction. But have you thought about the planning? He was one of the best planners in the world. Think about it. In our financial field, when we say you should invest for long term, हर वक्त long term बोल रहे हैं, पैसा कब निकालूंगा मैं, कब इस्तेमाल करूंगा? What is long term? You started using 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 5, 7 years. Today, the financial industry has come to the conclusion that long term is 7 years. You see that there. Yusuf al-Islam period is that 7 years for investment. The industry has been copying and then saying that it is 7 years. We have got it in our books. Are we aware of it? Have you thought about it? Go back to this. I really want you to understand this. What is reinvestment? If you sow one seed and if you harvest 7 seeds, out of that 5 seeds you utilize, that is the crop that you utilize, 5 of them. 2 you reinvest it or you plant it again. Second year, you have 14. Out of these 14, you again use 5, invest the 9 in the third year, and go on. This is the power of compounding. You see that at the end of 7th year, how many grains you have? How much crop you have? This is the power of compounding. It is there for us to look into the Quran, the signs which are there. 7 years of green grain grew on the river banks but disappeared. So it is, what does it show? It shows for those bad times when there is no income, when there's an emergency, when there's a corona, when there's a pandemic. You need to be prepared for that. All these are covered in the financial planning. Another aspect of Islamic wealth management. First, we need to understand what is the attitude towards wealth. There are 4 dimensions to the ethical investment. One is, we need to believe that this is not yours or mine, whatever wealth you have. It's all wealth belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator. It is given in your hands as a test or a trial. It does not belong to us. Poor and needy have a right in it. We are not doing a favor by giving poor and needy, it is a right. उनका हक है हमारे पैसे के ऊपर. Provide well for family and relations before death. If this is not what is planning, what is it? So, getting to it also asks about, go back to the hadith that I had talked about, it's going to ask, how have you earned it? Was it a legitimate or an illegitimate earning? You need to accumulate for the rainy day and also preserve your capital for the next generation. There is a Sahabi, I think most of you know it, how the inheritance has come of that 1/3. There is a Sahabi who said that I am on my deathbed and I've got only one daughter, I want to give everything in charity. Huzur Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, no. He said, I will give 2/3. He said, no. He said, half. He said, no. He said, at least 1/3. He said, yes, but even that is too much. Which means that 1/3 is something that you need to give it to your heirs. Why? Because the children are looking for it. They should not spread their hands in front of somebody else. That is the reason. We have to provide for that. Have you talked about it? Then the other is the donations and distributions. Zakat. Zakat is, we first of all, many of us do not calculate and pay the zakat properly, which is 2.5%. And once we pay 2.5%, we think that at the end of it, I have done my duty. Believe me, zakat is only for saving you from Jahannam. That's all. But आपके दर्जे अगर बुलंद करना है, बढ़ाना है, it is the sadqa nafila hadiya that you need to give. Are we spending money on that? Are we thinking about it? Distribution. आज के लिए काफी है, कल का अल्लाह मालिक है. Is that permitted? No. Again, look into the Quran and see. Usman Rizallah Ta'ala, he has created a waqf which you and I can see even today. You go to Haram, the buildings and hotels which are there, 50% of that income goes to feeding the poor and 50% goes to the bank account. The well that he purchased for the community is there even today. Have we thought about it? We don't spend the money. We think that zakat diye kafi hai. I'll give you another analogy. Suppose if the water is coming in the tap, once in a day or something, one time, maybe for 2 hours or 1 hour, what do? हमारे घड़े रहते हैं, बर्तन होते हैं, हम उसमें पानी भरते हैं, पानी का वक्त आया वक्त जो बचाव पानी फेंक देते हैं, फिर उसको मत भर लेते हैं. Do we do that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends angels every day to fill up that pot. Every day. What we are doing is wasting. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has got no limit to what he can give. You pray for one and I pray for and then pray for only mere walidain ko uska tawab de. You talk for the ummah. He doesn't have a shortage. He is not a miser. He's got everything that he gives. Do we do it? This is another aspect of Sharia. So the Akhira investment portfolio should be something like this. I will just give minute for you to ponder and think about it, to say, are we doing this? The step which they have called for, probably Anish is going to talk about the social responsibility. He's taken an initiative of trying to do something because the Ramadan is there, but it should be an ongoing process. Just think about the poor. I'll give you another instance and another example. There's a NGO. They've identified the orphans. We talk about ourselves, we don't talk about orphans. Orphans, we talk about giving the lowest denomination kind of a note to the orphans or to the poor. Some organization has said that I will invest SIP, systematic investment plan of 1,000 rupees every month in a Tata mutual fund in the name of the orphan, so that when he grows 18, he will have a corpus amount, lump sum amount. And this is from the zakat amount. Do you know what is the compounding factor? Go back to that corner. If in your family you have got somebody who is eligible for zakat, you have a zakat, put 1 lakh, 2 lakh, whatever is the amount, lump sum amount in that family's or in that person's name, widow's name, and give a systematic withdrawal plan of whatever the amount is. This is a solution which we are giving to our community. People have been doing it. Safa has been doing it. You can do it at your level. You don't have to go to anybody else. That reminds me of another case here where NGOs are there. Do you know how much money we have in NGOs? How many months we have in the masajid? In the trust, not a single one has invested in the Sharia compliant investment. I can challenge and say that. We talk about votes. Vote dale to ye ho jayega. Your own money which has not gone into a Sharia compliant fund which is there. Why? Have you thought about it? This is what we need to ponder. Today, investors, especially the youngsters, they know Tata to मालूम है. कर लिया आपने और कुछ बताओ कोई नया टिपेगा स्टॉक में डालने के लिए क्या है बताओ. Remember, when you go to the stock market, you need to identify yourself. Are you a trader or are you a wealth creator? Who is a trader? A trader is a person. Let me give you an example. If you have got an electrical shop or a cloth shop, what do you look into? कोरिया का ऑयल है क्या, खटाऊ का है क्या, अच्छा है क्या, कपड़ा खादी का है क्या, स्पन है क्या. You need to keep in touch with the market and find out which is cheap, which is from where am I getting. And you need to do on a constant basis, on a daily basis. That is trading. Wealth creation, you invest it for the long term, wait for the fruits to come. Trading is something we discourage. Wealth creation is what? First, we need to identify yourself. Having spent 50 years, I don't do trading. Neither for me nor for my client, because that's a waste of time. A lot of people who are professionals, they try to do the trade. I want to ask them, suppose if I tell you that I will do your surgery, will you accept it? No. Then why not go to a professional? Why not take an advice? Okay? So trading is there. Believe me, investment is a boring kind of a thing which needs to be done. Investment is very boring, which means you just need to put and then forget about it. Now comes to Sharia screening. What is Sharia screening? Why do you call it Sharia screening? What is the process for it? There are, Tasis is one of the first kind of companies which have come into the market and done the Sharia compliance cases. First thing is the activity of the screening, or screening activity has to be, the core activity of the company has to be a permissible company, permissible activity. Then debt to market capitalization or turnover is the maximum allowed is 33%. This is a unanimous kind of a thing from the scholars, but the lower the better. I'll give you another example. In Spain, there are 50 companies, so there 33% is allowed. India, there are many companies. There are more than 1,200 companies which are Sharia compliant. So why invest it? Reduce it down to 25%. So that's the logic behind it. Then there's an interest composition which is allowed. I don't want to get into the narration of it. This is more technical kind of a thing. But these are the ratios, financial ratios, based on which scholars have permitted and called it Sharia compliant. As I said earlier, Sharia compliance does not mean halal. I'm making a very negative statement today because all people who are into Sharia compliant products, they are not doing the purging. This is a very important aspect of it. So unless you do the purging, it is not halal. Tata Ethical Fund, this is the kind of performance which is then there. Look at 1 year, 3 year, 5 years. Where do you get this investment? It's regulated. Why not be in it? If you want to make it simple, just invest in Tata Ethical Fund, it's gone. It's enough. If you want a monthly income, put a lump sum amount in Tata Ethical Fund, make a systematic withdrawal plan, it will work. We have got, ask Anis, and they will give you a systematic withdrawal plan and then work out and tell you how much with inflation, if you take a withdrawal, what will be the corpus after 20 years, 10 years, 20 years. You need to understand that. I don't know how many of you understand Nifty or Sensex. Nifty is an indicator of the market with 50 stocks, large stock, which is something like a barometer or an index to say how the economy is doing and how the market is doing. So if you don't know anything, आज market चढ़ गया 500 पॉइंट ऊपर गया 300 पॉइंट नीचे, that is you understand everybody sees in the TV. So if Nifty has got 50 stocks and 37% of them is financials which you don't invest into. So remove out of the 50 companies, if you remove, let's say 31 companies which are non-compliant and 19 companies which are compliant, there's an index or a fund which is called a Sharia ETF. If you compare the two, which one should do better? Tell me. 50 companies with financials of 37% or the Sharia index, same companies, only the minus the non-compliant one. All financial people, all financial experts say that Nifty should do better because there are 30 stocks and financials there. Look at this slide from that point of view. The comparison between 50 companies and 19 companies which are Sharia compliant without the debt, they are equal. Next, gold. Gold is again an instrument which people say, the financial experts say, if you ask any fund manager, gold mein dalna kya? Kuch bhi nahi milta usko gold. What is the Sharia aspect of it? What is the currency? Gold. For you and me, gold and silver is the currency. Gold has always given, look at the statistics there. Look at the statistics there. It has always given above the inflation. If inflation is 6%, I've showed you that it's 8.52. Instead of keeping cash, keep the gold. Another thing, when you are investing, equity and gold are work against each other, which means that if the equity goes up, gold goes down. If gold goes up, equity goes down. If you have a combination of the two, that's the best investment. You don't need to get to fixed deposit, you don't need to keep the cash with you. Other than mutual fund and stocks, is there any other tool? Direct SIP into a stock is another kind of an option for you to make an investment. This is Nifty IT. Nifty is an index to 10 stocks. And if you invest in those 10 stocks, instead of investing in 10 stocks, you invest only into that index. This is a performance. You don't need to choose anything. कौन सा IT company खरीदना Sharia है नहीं है. At present, these are all Sharia compliant. Then, can anybody guess which is this product? Sorry? No, what commodity, what product is this? It is silver. Silver ETF has just been launched. We're trying to check up whether it's compliant for compliance sake. If we add gold, silver, and equity, the performance is much better. A solution. Most of us, what do? We keep the amount in the bank. What is happening to the bank if you keep it? That is because of inflation, 100 becomes, let's say inflation is 6%, 100 becomes 94 at the end of the year. Ramadan comes, we pay another 2.5%. So 94 becomes 91.5, whatever it is. That's a fact. And we keep in the bank saying, मेरे को नहीं डालना है, पैसा रखना है, interest नहीं डालना. A solution for that we have found out is that if you invest in two indexes, the ETFs and the gold, this is the one. The line there on the black is the inflation plus 2.5. That's the benchmark. Sharia compliant opportunity is there. You need to make an investment. Think about it. I've talked about this one. This is a stocks investment if you make an investment. In conclusion, this is my statement. My apologies if somebody has misunderstood it with the words, but it's a very strong statement that I'm trying to make. It is a religious requirement of a Muslim to be invested. Why do I say that? Because cash, you should not hold it. You should not keep it. Cash is meant to work. So that's why you need to invest it. First statement. Second statement. Rather, it is un-Islamic to hold money or invest otherwise when a Sharia compliant opportunity is presented to you. When Sharia compliant opportunity is there. Think about it. I have finished my time. Thank you very much for this. And before we close, let's pray. There's a dua for wealth also. How many of us have asked for this every day if you want wealth? Allahumma aksir ma'lahu wa waladahu wa barik lahu fima aitahu. Thank you very much. Please pray for me. Let's talk about it, not just talk about it, action it, and then start participating in the regular stream, regulated stream, and not get divided and then put into an unregulated product. There are enough opportunities now for you to make an investment. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair.
Very insightful session. A lot of takeaways for all of us, a lot of food for thought.